It's delicious. It is the first time I've ever had such a tasty hamburger.
For a moment, I forgot that I was in the restaurant, and as an elementary school student back then, I shouted loudly. That day, I went to a food shop for the first time in my life. I had gone with my father as a reward for doing well on my practice test.
Eat whatever you want, as much as you want.
My father must have been in a really good mood. He said that with a smile. Besides the deliciousness of the hamburger, I was fascinated by the master behind the counter, who seemed to perform magic, making hamburgers one after another. Whether he knew or not that I was watching intently, the master made the hamburgers right in front of me with a smile. Sometimes he would say, "Hey kid, watch closely," and intentionally make the hamburger in front of me. That day, not only my stomach, but also my heart felt fulfilled as I headed home.
If you continue to get good test results, I'll take you to eat whatever you want.
On the way back, my father said that he had probably had quite a bit to get drunk, so I wondered if he meant it for real. Whether he noticed my feelings or not, my father said,
Don't worry, I'll keep my promise.
He said it with a slightly serious expression. From then on, going out to eat became the customary reward for my good practice test results.
Anywhere is fine.
My father said that, but I always ordered from that food shop, not only because I wanted to eat the hamburger, but also because I look forward to watching the master make the hamburgers more than anything else.
I understand.
On the day of the final exam results before the private junior high school entrance exam, my father spoke to me while I was watching the master make hamburgers as usual.
Sorry, I didn't ask you before.
I said, and my father replied.
Listen carefully because it's important.
He began speaking again.
I wanted to go to college, but my parents couldn't afford the tuition, so I couldn't go. That's why I want you to go to college. If possible, aim for a prestigious university that your cousins are unlikely to easily get into. If you do that, your future will be secure. Understand? It's a promise between men.
While thinking to myself, even if you call it a promise on your own, I said,
I understand.
I desperately studied, wanting to live up to my father's expectations. As a result, I was able to enter a well-known private junior high school in my hometown, and also passed the entrance exam for one of the top high schools known for its advanced education in the prefecture. Without boasting, my high school grades were top-notch, and I was able to attend the university that my father mentioned, the one where my cousins were unlikely to easily get into. I, who had been focused solely on studying until high school, had the same age and never had a girlfriend. But I managed to get a girlfriend during my third year of university. She was 2 years younger than me, and her name was Julia. I met Julia at a social gathering held jointly by multiple universities. Perhaps because I had been drinking, I was talkative, while Julia, being underage, stuck to drinking only juice and played the role of a listener. Afterward, I regretted talking too much once I got home. I wanted to see her again, but thought I had come on too strong and probably pushed her away, so I didn't reach out to her. However, a few days later, something happened that I never could have imagined.
Have you contacted Julia?
A fellow member from the same club asked me. At that moment, I couldn't comprehend why I was being asked such a question.
I heard that talking with you was the most enjoyable time for Julia. You should definitely contact her.
When I heard that, I felt like jumping up in joy. So I mustered up the courage and decided to send a message to Julia. However, I had no idea what kind of message to send. After much deliberation, the content of the message I sent was something trivial like, "Long time no see. How are you?" I regretted my lack of clever words and my low dating intelligence. Surprisingly, I received a reply from Julia quite quickly.
Long time no see. I'm glad you reached out. I thought you wouldn't contact me anymore.
I couldn't help but do a little victory pose. From that point on, I became quite bold, to the extent that it made me feel embarrassed. Whenever I received a reply from Julia, I would respond immediately. If I miss this opportunity, there won't be another chance. With that thought in mind and feeling the pressure, I believed that was the best way to win Julia's favor. In retrospect, I was quite aggressive to the point of being ridiculous. But whether my feelings got through or not, Julia agreed to go out with me. Soon after Julia and I started dating, job hunting became serious. I didn't have any particular desired field or company in mind. I simply vaguely hoped for a place near my university, just so that I could have more time to spend with Julia. However, Julia was different. She had researched companies more thoroughly than I did.
How about this one? It seems good.
She said, showing me a job guidebook with sticky notes. I took countless recruitment exams for the companies that Julia suggested. During job interviews, I had a positive experience with each one. At that moment, I realized for the first time the strong brand power of my university in the real world. After all, American companies choose based on universities, not on personality. That's what I thought. That's why I received job offers from several companies, but in the end, I let Julia decide for me. As Julia looked at the company brochures for my job offers, her eyes sparkled. Maybe she's thinking about our life after marriage. That's what I thought while observing Julia's expression. The company she chose was headquartered in New York, which also had branches overseas. It was about a 2-hour drive from where our university was located. I worried that I would have less time to spend with Julia.
I'm also going to New York after graduation, so don't worry. Even if we have less time together, it's just 2 years. Not a big deal.
Julia said nonchalantly. I thought to myself, she's a strong person. But that was my misunderstanding. I truly didn't understand anything. 2 years after I graduated from university, Julia came to New York, just as she had told me. The two of us started living together and became even closer than we were during our university days. Julia was genuinely kind and accepted everything about me. That's why we never argued. And after 1 year, we got married. Our newlywed life was blissful. Work kept me busy every day, and there were many times when I came home late. However, no matter how exhausted I was, the anticipation of returning to a home where my lovely wife would welcome me was the greatest joy. But around a year had passed when our married life took a drastic turn. Due to a global economic shock, the company I worked for suffered a major blow and, unbelievably, went bankrupt. I was left at a loss, facing an unexpected turn of events. However, it was Julia who seemed even more downcast than I was. She blamed herself for recommending the company that went bankrupt. Seeing Julia in such a state, I thought to myself, as a man, how can I not be strong? So I gathered my determination, reached out to hold Julia's hand, and tried to encourage her through her somber expression. I know it's going to be tough from now on, but let's overcome it together, I said, hoping to uplift her spirits.
Yeah, let's do our best.
I thought she would respond with her usual smile, but Julia's reaction was something I never could have imagined. She brushed off my hand and said,
If it's like this, then what's the point of marrying you?
Julia was clearly angry. I might say she was expressing her exasperation towards me.
Is it possible that after being with someone like you who has no merits, just when I thought I married you with a well-paying job, you suddenly become unemployed? This ruins my future plans.
My spine froze as I listened to those words. Was this really something my wife said? Julia went straight to the bedroom, locked the door, and didn't come out much after that. We barely saw each other. I thought about it a lot. Was that her true feelings? Was she just confused and blurted it out? But is this what love is like? Why did I fall in love with Julia? Why did we get married? What am I supposed to do now?
Divorce.
I heard a cold voice pushing me away. I turned around to see Julia handing me a piece of paper. It was a divorce form.
The reason for divorce is you, so you should leave.
She said. I was left speechless. Without understanding what was happening, Julia walked back into the bedroom, leaving me in the living room. I had no intention of trying to convince her. The next day, I submitted the divorce form to the office, packed my belongings, and left the apartment. I remembered what my father said a long time ago.
Get into a good university. That way, your future will be secure.
But what about reality? Even if I graduate from a good university, I become unemployed if the company goes bankrupt. Once you're unemployed, you end up getting divorced from your wife. Despite being smart and capable in academics, I know nothing about the workings of society. I'm utterly hopeless, I thought. Having lost my job and separated from my wife, I wasn't in the depths of despair. It was quite the opposite. For some reason, laughter welled up within me. My mind felt clear. I have nothing left, absolutely nothing. And that means I am free. It was the first time in my life that I felt that way. From that moment on, I went wherever I wanted and stayed wherever I liked. I discovered that even budget hotels could be comfortable and peaceful. It was during those times that I heard someone's voice in the city, somewhere.
Heck, I don't want to go to work. It would be amazing if I could just do what I love and live.
Do what I love. Yes, I headed towards a particular place. It was a high-class food establishment near the company I used to work for. We often went there for business entertainment.
Welcome.
The staff at the food establishment greeted me, recognizing that I was the one who had experienced the company's bankruptcy. With a complicated expression, the staff said,
It must have been Duff.
The head chef, who was in the kitchen, also came out and spoke to me.
"Oh, is this a farewell greeting?"
The head chef asked, but I interrupted his words. "Please, let me work here. Please hire me," I pleaded. The head chef looked surprised, but in the next moment, his brows furrowed, displaying a perplexed expression. "I'm serious. I'll do anything. Please hire me here," I insisted. At first, the head chef tried to come up with various reasons to reject my offer. By that time, I had already surpassed 25 years of age.
To become a skilled craftsman, even after graduating from high school, it's considered late. You have to put in a lot of effort, and there's no guarantee of success. If I see no potential in you, I'll ask you to quit. Are you still up for it?
The head chef said those words, but I had no doubt in my mind. The head chef seemed to have yielded to my determination.
"Be here early tomorrow morning,"
he said. From that point on, I worked tirelessly, far surpassing my previous experience working in a company. I arrived at the shop early in the morning and took care of cleaning. I willingly took on tasks that other staff members disliked. The head chef didn't talk much and truly embodied the essence of a craftsman. He was uncompromising and strict, allowing no room for leniency. I was scolded numerous times, even for minor things. Nonetheless, I aimed to stand in the kitchen as soon as possible every day. However, it was a challenging path to become a hamburger craftsman, just as the head chef had said. Honestly, there were times when I wanted to run away. In those moments, I remembered the image of the skilled craftsman I saw at the food establishment my father took me to when I was in elementary school. They performed magic-like tricks while making hamburgers. About 2 years into my apprenticeship under the head chef, he said something.
"Help me with the prep work."
The head chef said. Finally, I felt like I was taking a step forward as a hamburger craftsman, and I was delighted. The head chef was the kind of person who believed that you should steal techniques from others. As I cooked alongside him, I made sure not to miss any of his movements. Has I ever been so dedicated and serious about my work before? Every day felt fulfilling.
By the way, is there anyone special in your life?
One day, while I was working in the kitchen as usual, the head chef asked me. At first, I didn't understand what he meant. As I stood there looking perplexed, he said, slightly annoyed,
"You're dull, aren't you? I'm asking if you have someone you like."
Well, no, I don't," I stammered. The head chef tilted his head and asked, "In the food establishment, there was a daughter who would turn 25 this year. She was the head chef's only child, and everyone agreed that she was incredibly cute. She inherited her mother's kind temperament and was straightforward about good and bad things. Her strong will came from the head chef. For me, it was a missed opportunity, and I couldn't help but feel regretful. In fact, over the course of several years spending every day in this shop, I secretly developed feelings for the daughter. I was so afraid that the head chef would find out and kick me out. So, with a knot in my stomach, I said, "But I'm divorced. Even if I'm okay, what about your daughter?"
Her feelings have already been confirmed by my wife. Besides, whether it's one divorce or two, what matters is the heart. The rest doesn't matter.
The head chef said with a hearty laugh. A few months later, I entered into my second marriage. We occasionally had arguments, but our bond grew stronger afterwards. Unlike the first time, I could feel that this was the true form of a married couple. We were blessed with 2 children. By the time I reached my mid-30s, the head chef allowed me to become independent.
Protect the taste of our place,
he said as he saw me off. A few days after I opened the shop, an unexpected person visited as a customer. It was my ex-wife, whom I had separated from 10 years ago. She was accompanied by a man who seemed to be her new husband and a child of elementary school age. I immediately recognized her, but she didn't seem to mind and was happily conversing with her family when the child exclaimed,
It's delicious.
My ex-wife spoke to them, saying,
That's good, isn't it? If you enter a good university and get a good job, you'll be able to eat as many hamburgers like this as you want.
Saying that, she ate the hamburger that I had made. Since my ex-wife's family came to the shop late, they stayed until just before closing time. And when I saw off all the other customers, I heard a voice from behind me saying,
Can I have a moment?
It was a cold, unpleasant voice. When I turned around, I saw my ex-wife standing there. I looked nervous, and she said,
Don't worry, I had the family go home first.
She sent her family home and waited for me. What do you want? I asked, and my ex-wife suddenly said,
You've been really ruined, haven't you?
She said it out of nowhere.
To think that someone who graduated from a top university and joined a good company would end up as a hamburger cook. What are you thinking? It's unimaginable.
I began to question the character of my ex-wife, who would make such remarks all of a sudden. I never thought that the woman I once loved and started a family with could be such a heartless person. I was speechless and taken aback by this unexpected situation, and she continued.
It was difficult for me to remarry because of you, after all.
My ex-wife began to pour out her feelings of the past 10 years, sharing her struggles as if venting.
Enough, stop it.
A voice called out from behind me. It was the man who has become my father-in-law, the owner. That day, the owner had come to check on how well I was managing the shop. He walked past me and stood in front of my ex-wife.
You're the one who chased him out when he was at his lowest point, aren't you? Then it's none of his concern how you've led your life. He has carved his own path, worked hard with dedication, and now he has his own shop. You may belittle him as a hamburger cook, but he takes pride in his work. I'm sure he feels the same way. Conversely, you select men based solely on their educational background and live a life dependent on them. You wouldn't understand a world beyond that. The shop has the right to choose its customers. Don't ever come to this shop again.
The owner spoke to my ex-wife in a stern tone, which was unusual for his normally quiet demeanor. My ex-wife had a bewildered expression on her face.
You need to shape up too.
I was given a firm smack on the buttocks as he said that. Thanks to that incident, my shop has become well regarded in the neighborhood, and I have loyal customers. However, my ex-wife has never visited the shop since that day. Thanks to that, I can freely engage in the business I love, so I consider that day's event as the best opening gift from my father-in-law.